Willkommen zum Reinsurance Podcast, live aus Baden-Baden. Wir sind hier für die jährliche Rückversicherungskonferenz, wo sich führende Mitglieder der Branche versammeln, um über die neuesten Trends, Herausforderungen und Innovationen zu sprechen. Bleiben Sie dran für exklusive Einblicke direkt von der Konferenz. Tom, super excited to be back for the Baden-Baden Reinsurance Podcast edition.
We love it here.
Don't we just?
It's such an amazing place.
How's your conference been so far?
It's been really good. It's been interesting. I think people have found it really hard to have like a solid talk track for the week. The market's coming off a peak. It's beginning to soften. I think everybody knows that's going to happen. It's been a fairly benign cat year, and kind of processes are in place already. So things are as expected, which for us doing a podcast about interesting things has made it difficult to try and pull out some interesting themes for people to talk about.
A great advert for the podcast. Unfortunately, we have found those themes.
Fortunately, we have been able to find those things. Yeah. And there's been a ton of interesting conversations that have gone on in the background, right from guests about cyber, talking about like how you can practically increase demand and use the amount of additional capacity that exists in the market now, to actually go into new markets and go into new products and build new customer bases from things. And if you look at the kind of macro scenario, that's what brokers are going to have to do this year. With softening in cat being the way it is, brokers are going to have a big hole in their revenue streams. Yeah. And I think everybody knows that. Very few of them actually said that on the podcast or generally. But when you have private conversations with people, that is top of mind for them. That is a concern for them. And they're hoping that they can get through that with increased demand around an improvement in terms and conditions for cedents. They're hoping that people will buy more when things are a little bit cheaper, that the movements in terms and conditions can actually be something tangible, which I think is still an open question for the rest of the renewal season, but also other mechanisms by which to increase that direct revenue number. So whether that be M&A or market expansion or acquiring teams, I think we're likely to see a lot of that going over the next 12 months, and you're starting to hear whispers about that.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, and I think the additional headroom that might be created by any further softening is going to give people opportunities to do things that are a bit different, a bit exciting, and I think the most innovative brokers, I'm sure, will be on hand to help the clients who are daring to try interesting structures, interesting models, new lines that they might want to push in a bit further. But yeah, there's no rules as such, so it'd be interesting to see which directions people go in.
Yeah, I think something that will be interesting, that's come out of a few conversations that I've had, is how risk reduction techniques might come into play. If someone can genuinely show that they're making an investment in something that reduces a risk around a portfolio or helps you understand the risk around a portfolio with far more clarity, then they're going to be rewarded for that perhaps slightly more than some others, and we're still going to see this competitive situation from cedent to cedent, right? There is still going to be good risks to write from a reinsurance standpoint, and there will be less good risks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the interesting moment, I think, has maybe not even yet arrived in terms of timing for some of these conversations, right? We're now just starting to see the submission data land, people making sense of it, and perhaps brokers are being clever about it as well, and waiting until all that capacity is confirmed before they start pressing really hard on some of these deals. And where they press will be different depending on the client, I'm sure, and where reinsurers push back again will be different depending on the reinsurer. So it's all to play for, as they say in football commentary.
It is, absolutely is. I think probably you're going to see more around the cedents pushing for rate reductions than you are reinsurers kind of holding firm. It's quite difficult for them to, in one breath, say, we're going to hold firm. It's only been a couple of good years. And at the same time, say, we've got all this spare capacity that we now want to deploy in this environment. You can't really have it both ways. And so I think that's a difficult argument to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always like to check in whilst we're here on how the industry is evolving over time. You know, there's been this great looming shadow of maybe AI taking over all our jobs one day and so forth. But on the ground, people are actually trying to improve day-to-day operations and processes and data and so on. What tangible things have you heard whilst you've been out in the conference? What are people focusing on?
So there's been fewer chats about AI, I think, than perhaps at some of the more strategic conferences. This one tends to be a lot about day-to-day tangible outcomes and things that people can make, but that's actually a good thing. I think that where people can streamline operational processes, we've heard one of the words that we've heard quite consistently is interoperability. So how can we make systems talk to other systems more efficiently, more effectively? Now, different types of AI and machine learning might be part of that, but it's not your banging the drum of large language models and things like that, which I think you've typically seen earlier in the year. People have got very excited about some POCs that have been going on. Now we're seeing real investment in how do we make platforms talk to each other more effectively. And that's where you can actually get the operational saving.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess when people look beyond our industry and look at the world around them, have there been any macro trends that people have commented on more than others in the world that's constantly called uncertain, but uncertain in different ways each time? It seems.
we live in unprecedented times. That is,
haven't we always?
Exactly. Nothing's changed. So in that way, we are living in precedented times. And yes, I think it's the same kind of march towards transformation. I think that the world is a bit uncertain. There's political risk comes up fairly regularly. We still have a big judgment that we're awaiting on aviation war books that could upset that market to a degree and reduce some capacity more generally. So that still remains to be seen. But I think people are largely happy with the predictability around the market for this year anyway.
Yeah. So overall, would you say strong, healthy market and one that everybody can win in?
A few people have said, strictly off the record, everyone's making money at the moment. And when the situation is like that, then I think people's attitude is to make hay while the sun shines and continue to build a strong industry that we love to support.
Yeah, there's a reason that we've been able to last for some several hundred years as an industry and keep coming back to the same hotels in the same pubs in the same towns for decades beyond our time.
If we can just continue to manage the cycle.
Yeah, dependable reinsurance sector, a partner to the world.
Exactly.
Well, we hope you enjoy listening, folks, to all the episodes that we've recorded for you here in Baden-Baden, and enjoy.
Yeah, lovely to see everyone.